Good morning to Tea and Trails podcast from just above Morzine on the top of one of Eddie's favourite mountains. Your favourite girls are here. Hi, Eddie!
Hi, Eddie!
Hi,
And Gary!
And other doggies. We miss Lindy, Pops and Taki as well. We're up here. It's cold, rainy. We're all a bit snotty and shaky, but we wish you were here with us. Bye!
Welcome and thanks for joining us for episode 98 of the Tea and Trails podcast. Lovely intro from Morzine.
Oh, my crew. Not only my crew, but they're stamping on my patch. They're on my patch. What are they all doing over there? The rats. I love it. Miss you guys. But there is talk. We've had a little talk about a reunion, them coming over to something special at the end of June. We could have a international contingency trashing the trails of the Northern Fells. So that's really exciting.
Oh, sensational. We'll keep those intros coming in, please. We have caught up. The cupboard is bare.
You open the cupboard and it is bare. Sadly, none of my cupboards are bare. Every cupboard I open, everything falls out, Gary. Kids and their clothes and their inability to do anything but shove them back in the cupboard. Anyway, let's move on.
Firstly, a big thank you to all our patrons. For the price of a cuppa, you can help keep the mics on and the lights hot. Many thanks to our sensational partners too. Check them out over Patreon. They not only support the podcast, but also provide a discount code. So it's almost like a little gift from them to you to say thank you for being awesome. Join any Patreon tier and pay annually and you will receive 10% off your subscription. Also, pop over to Summit Crazy if you would like to buy some awesome Tea and Trails merch. Yeah, lots of people have placed orders for bobble hats and they have also joined, let me try and get this right. If you join Patreon, Legend tier and above and pay annually, we will send you out a bobble hat. Apologies, we're all out of stock. This cold snap, it's wiped us out, Eddie. We've got no. I've ordered some more. I think I ordered them maybe 2 weeks ago.
Poor little Timmy has no hat on his head.
Yeah, so if you're thinking, oi, Thwitey, where's my bobble hat? Yeah, we're just waiting for the guys. Summit Crazy to ship them.
I have
over
a
to
funny
us.
story about a bobble hat. It fits in so well here. Can we say it?
Excellent.
Even though we
Yeah,
haven't
go for
finished
it,
this? So when we finished our sensational run, which we'll talk about on Thursday, when Sophie and I were staying at the same hotel and I had made an error and booked 2 rooms and there was a big misunderstanding. I know, is it? But it's totally typical of Eddie. I booked 2 rooms and I was like, it was all kicking off a bit and because they wanted me to pay for the 2 rooms and I was like, look, it's
Do you know who I am?
I had my Tea and Trails bobble hat on as I was going, so you're going to make me pay for 2 rooms even though I didn't mean to press 2, And so I slowly started slipping my hat off my head as she was shouting at me and going, oh dear, this is not good. Anyway, they were very kind. I didn't have to pay for 2 rooms in the end, but at the I thought, oh dear, this isn't great. This isn't great podcast marketing, is it? Eddie's standing there going, oh God. Please don't make me pay my month's salary for these 2 rooms. Anyway.
You'd be on the Daily Mail's entitled podcaster.
Entitled podcaster. Pick a room, any room. Which one? I booked them all.
Another new Patreon perk. I love this one. A company called Glow Map. They create beautiful high resolution artwork from your Strava heat map. You lucky patrons can get 15% off over at www.glowmap.art. I've been playing around with it. It's sensational. I'm not too sure. Do I go for a one Lake District? 'Cause I'm very fond of that. But I love my local trails too. I'm not too sure to go East Coast, West Coast. I don't know.
I'm going to wait because mine's really dull at the moment because I'm doing the same runs because I haven't had any time and now I'm going to start tapering. It's going to be even duller. So I think I need to wait a year until I should have had one. Oh, could have had one done in Morzine.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. It's still the same runs. She did the same runs.
It took a while for Glow Map and Strava to fully sync so I could see my runs on the map. But then, yeah, you kind of move around the UK for me and you just go, oh, yeah, I did a run down in Derby in 2015. It just picks up all your data and you just say like a little...
That's a bit scary.
I loved it. Yeah, definitely. I'll be placing an order. Yeah, I love that Patreon perk.
Thank you to our show sponsors, Precision Fuel and Hydration, X Miles, Shocks, Beta Run, and Protein Rebel. We use their products day after day, week after week to help us train, hydrate, and recover. Patrons can get 15% off over at Precision Fuel and Hydration. If you're not a patron but still like to try, you can get 15% off with the code CAPSLOCK T24. That's T24. And if you'd like to try some Protein Rebel, you can use the code T15 for 15% off your first order too. If you need a headphone upgrade, then use the code T10 for £10 off over at uk.shocks.com. Gary and I this morning are both fashioning. I've got the white pair and you've got the black pair. These ones are, I keep forgetting, they're open for air. I wouldn't know I had these on. They're as light as air. Thank you to Precision Fuel and Hydration for sponsoring this show. Gary, you a bit jealous of me slurping those gels? I was the only one on gels, definitely on Thursday.
My cupboard's a bear. You were slurping away. How many grams of carbs do you reckon you consumed?
Oh, a dirty number. Well, I had 390 grams of gels, and that was before the sandwiches, the pizza, the hula hoops.
The wraps.
But I tell you what, and the sweets. We had quite a few sweets, didn't we, too? You gave me quite a few sweets. You gave me like a double fist of sweets before we even started. I tell you what's so good about those gels, though, is that like when we were running back and it was like icy and rutty, I was trying to eat hula hoops at the same time, and I kept getting dropped from the line because I had to keep looking down to eat my hula hoops. So I put those away, and I thought that's when if you're a little bit hungry, when you can just hold a gel and you don't need to take your eyes off a trail if you need to keep your eyes on the trail. To me, that was a little bit extravagant of eating gels when it's a recce, but I've been training that tummy to take the gels, even though I would sometimes find it a little bit at a low intensity. I would actually prefer a sandwich, but I've been like, I've got to be able to, as I'm doing Winter 200 unsupported, I've got to be able to carry about 10 of those gels in because I've got to have about 50 miles worth of fuel on me. So I've got to have about 10 of those gels. If I meet anybody and they like give me a hug or anything, they're basically going to be met with a layer of gel packets. Don't hug too hard. No, well, that's why I want to do it as well, because that is like 90 grams of quite lightweight, easy. Though the top did freeze. That's the first time that's happened to me. Couldn't unscrew one of them. But don't worry, I put it in my mouth. Put it in my mouth. This isn't on the Precision Fuel and Hydration webpage. Put it on my mouth and gave it a little suck, and it Links to all us before we get dropped. Links to all our sponsors and patrons can be found in the show notes and over at www.tntrails.com.
I love in the winter when I have to have double gloves on, basically. Otherwise, my poor hands get Raynaud's super quick. So that floor gel or the 90-gram pouch of carbs, I basically ate just old school Kinder Mint cake pretty much for all of that Teen Trails recce. A lot of faff, a lot of gloves on and off. So 100% for 2 Del Villain, I'll be floor gelling it all the way. Because then, I can just leave the gloves on, squeeze it into my soft flask, and it's just, that
Suck
admin.
it out.
Suck it up.
Admin. It's about admin when it's cold as well, isn't it? Like the ease of admin.
Weekly dates. We are blessed, Eddie. Our paths crossed this week.
Da, 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 they crossed. You arrived. I was doing a wee in all, as we should.
Everywhere I went, there was a CCTV camera. Farmer. Oh, goodness.
We were lucky. We touched in real life many times. Yeah. I think
you did violate me, actually. I remember.
I did actually violate you, and you went, Eddie, I'm in HR. That's too much. You had leggings on. It was there.
I know. I should have known better.
You could take me to court.
Can you imagine that in like a normal job?
Someone comes up and goes, "Oh, nice, great butt cheeks." But we take it as a compliment. We're like, "Yeah, good
fun times."
You say that now, it's all going to come back and say, yeah, we were so lucky. Should we start with the beginning of the week and then we'll get into the recce beats?
Yeah, go for it.
What did you do? What did I do before? Oh, I did do my workout because you were a bit nervous. You were like, I'm not going to do my workout till after the recce. And I decided that I needed to do my workout before the recce because there was no point having fresh legs for the recce. And so I did do my gym and I did 10K tempo. Tempo is a big word to throw at my fast running. My fast running is not as fast as I'd like it to be, but it's much better than it was. My average pace of like an easy run, my average heart rate is generally on a downward turn, which is good. It's only taken me about 8 months. I noticed when I did my 9 by 5 minutes at 5% on the treadmill on Sunday, kudos, Eddie. That took 3 bottles of precision hydration, I think. 2 gels. I noticed that I could go higher on my heart rate than I've been for a long time and feel really comfortable. I was like, yeah, I can push. Whether that's to do with a little bit of like generally settling in here now, stress of move, house, like not so rushed in life generally, the routine, I'm kind of like getting my bearings. So whether it's a little bit of that, but definitely noticing that when my like easy recovery runs as well, where I was really struggling sometimes to get any sort of pace. Not that I'm ever pushing the pace, but I'd be like, God, that is criminally slow. Now, when I'm moving, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, definitely easy pace. The pace is a little bit more where I'd like it to be. And lots of my athletes say that to me. It's like, I want it there. And I'm like, well, you can want it there, but it doesn't mean that your easy pace is going to be there. But it's sort of where I want to be. So yeah, I set myself up. I did my workout. My mum and dad came because they were going to look after the kids. So that was lovely. We had such a lovely time. It was lovely to have family in our new place, show them around. The weather was lovely. And then we had a lot of snow. So we had a snowed-in day, which was great, exciting. Dad still made us, he was insistent that we go out for fish and chips, even though he was like, you'll be fine. You driven in the Alps for years. But the difference between the Alps and here is that they clear the roads and everybody has winter tires on and they grit the roads. Whereas here, no sign of any road clearing, nothing. And so we did go out for fish and chips and I sat in the back of the car gripping the handles.
Is it the rules in the Alps? I know in Finland, I think it is the rules. If you don't put your winter tyres on.
Oh yeah, from November it's a random date. It's like November the 22nd or something. It's legal. And when you're driving up the mountain, the police will be there checking. Yeah. And if you haven't got winter tyres on, then they'll make you put those ridiculous chains and socks on that then they all come off and then 200 meters up the road, everybody's taking them off or they're falling off. So they didn't clear our roads. They were exciting. We found all the kids' salopettes and ski coats and they're very happy to get their old friends back on. Bob the Snowman was built. He was enormous. And sadly, he didn't last more than... It was there one day.
24 hours.
Woke up the next day. It was gone. Which was good because Mum and Dad had to drive home. So I was a bit worried about the old dears driving off into the snow. Much easier driving away from home when you've got family there that you can just go...
Yeah.
There we go. I was a bit sad because I was missing matches and concerts and stuff. The mum guilt's a real deal. And I'm like, but it was work, Gary, that we were going to. Work and pleasure. It was work. We did some networking. We did some great work. We'll talk about that in a second. So I stayed down. You went home. We sadly had to say goodbye. We were a bit worried when we drove away. Not only did the sat-nav take us on the most treacherous route into Kendal, but we never saw you again. And we were like, I hope you're not sitting down in that village hall and the car didn't start. But you obviously did get home. And then we went, Sophie and I were staying in the same place in Kendal and we went there and we went and had the most sensational, Gary, fish and chips. We both ordered, well, Sophie had fish and chips, I had veggie burger, and then we ordered as alongside that a Diet Coke and a pot of tea. And the pot of tea came in the big metal pots.
Oh, old school, love it.
4 tea bags in. It was basically a whole kettle worth of tea. We were so happy. We sat there and drank it. And then we were both talking at the AREA Adventure Sports Events conference the next day, but not till the afternoon. And so Sophie had a few other commitments, but we got up and went for a lovely...
How was it? How were your legs?
Carrie, I don't mean to, because I hate it when people say this, but my legs were fine. I think I'd done a great job the week before trashing them on the Pennine Way. So that was like nothing day compared to the days I'd done the week before. And they were so trashed after that this time they were like, yeah, fine. So yeah, they were tired. They were a bit tired. But it was so icy, Gary. So I Strava heat mapped like an 8-mile route. We just followed that because I tried to get it like on the trail so that we wouldn't be on the roads, but just getting onto the trail was so icy. And then a couple of bits like linking the trail when we had to cross the river to come back, we actually couldn't get down the road. It was sheet ice. So we had to climb into a field. So I said to Sophie, look, we'll just do about like an hour. And we ended up being like an hour and a half because because we were teetering. And of course we went blah, 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 at the same time. I was proud of us because we could have easily not done that and stayed
I'd have binned it off big time.
You'd have been binned it off. And then, and then we drove up to the hotel, and then I just grabbed all the free tea and drinks and went in the lounge and listened to Herbert and Mary they were making their wedding anniversary party with the party organisation. Oh, I loved it. So we've got John, he's going to need a special space. And then we've got Herbert, he's going to need a special space as well. I was like,
this sounds like a really nice hotel, Eddie.
It was a very nice hotel. And so I managed to get quite a little bit of work done in the morning. And then we presented a paper in the afternoon, which Shane had written. And actually, both Bryn and I had helped him on about safeguarding women in events. I had got sort of involved about it through the open tracking system. I was quite nervous at points that everybody could see my dot. See my dot. See where I was. So that's where I was coming from with it, and what we could do for safeguarding that. And you saw it as well at the Northern Traverse, didn't you?
I think I freaked you out once, my head torch in the dark. You didn't know who it was.
Well, you don't. You suddenly meet people, and they, of course, they know they're going to see you, so they don't think that there's any reason why you suddenly appearing and you're not sure if they're real or whatever. Shane's already put in place a lot of this policy, and they put it in place in Dragon's Back. So he's reading about amazing the stuff that's already been done and the improvements that have been made. So we did a little talk about that. It's hilarious. Shane had sent us a list of questions before, so we kind of were prepped, and then he goes off piste. It was so funny because this is in the afternoon. Shane gets on the stage and introduces us. I start talking. Sophie and I both are quite happy, blah, blah, blahing. Change chair, then gets on the back of the stage, gets caught, and he ends up flipping back over up the stage.
No.
It was one of those moments when I was like, Eddie, I could have become hysterical. If you'd been there, that would have been the end. And it was the way he went,
I bet you're so pleased you brought it up on the podcast.
I said, yeah, don't worry, Shane. I won't mention it on the podcast. I won't mention it on the podcast. It made the conference for me and lots of people. But it was a great conference. Met loads of listeners, met loads of people I've met at races, met loads of people doing amazing things. I had to rush off at the end because Rory had a football match. So we are now down in Kendal.
Yeah.
And Rory had a football match, and I had to try and get back because I didn't want Dad driving if it was snowing to get him to this football match at 7:30. So I literally did the talk, quick wee, back in the car. Vamoosh up the A9. My gosh.
What is it, 3.5 hours, 4 hours?
It was a long way. It was another, God, Eddie, it was another eyes on the road, don't think, don't look. And when your sat nav is 189 miles, you're like, oh my God.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. It's good. You just chunk it like a race. It was fine. I got back. Of course, I wasn't even wanted at the football match. By the time I got back, it was absolutely fine. It was absolutely freezing. It was a good thing to do. I always think things like this, I'm like, this is so much admin goes into leaving home, working away, doing all this stuff. What is it actually worth it? Am I actually needed there? But then I think as I left, this woman said, I'm from mountain biking, and we have nothing like this in place. There's no women protection policy. That's not even discussed. And I'm going to take it to them now with this new paper. So I was like, well, that's
fantastic.
That is all that is needed, is that the fact that it might help some woman somewhere, have a voice, change the way something's done. So it is all worth it as well. So that was my sort of funny. It was a funny week, wasn't it? Tell me what you did before you got to meet Eddie.
The whole week, I've got to say it was sensational. I think I've been really patient. I did a workout, and I did the workout, didn't do the long run. Then the next week I did a long run, didn't do the workout. And then this was the first week. I was always monitoring my heart rate variability to see how I was doing. So this week was the first week of a long run. We weren't stressed, as in it wasn't a hard run, but it was still, 5-6 hours out on the trails, and a workout too. And I've come out of it in the green too. I remember having some anxiety, actually. When you meet up with a bunch of people, you've got to show up. So you always have a bit of anxiety. I remember I was talking to Duncan, and Duncan, one of the group that was with us, he has lived in the Northeast too. So he's familiar with the cross-country scene in the Northeast. So we were chatting about that. Yeah, he flexed, fast pack cross-country runner. So I'm thinking literally, we were just come out in Mungraisdale, and I was thinking, what is in store? Still going to get rinsed today. But no, it was all fine. But yeah, really, I did do the gym because I haven't had any DOMs from my weightlifting session. So I was quite comfortable doing that before we all met up. But yeah, no, I didn't do any workouts. I'm back with running Rex. I think we were both we're both loving that, and I'm definitely loving the time. I definitely have got like an hour or two back every day. So as far as that's concerned, pretty chilled week until, was it Thursday? I'm forgetting on my days. Was it Thursday or Wednesday we all met up?
Thursday. Met up. Shall we give it? We're not going to go into full deets because, guys, you got to wait one more week and then we will have all the deets. But basically, we will be running an event alongside Area events called the Tea and Trails Ultra at the end of June. Final date, we're just confirming everything with, I say we, I'm going to use we, they're all we, with the landowners too, and the final bits of the route. So we decided to meet up with Libby, Duncan and Shane from Area events to have a look at the route. So we felt like we couldn't talk about it unless we'd actually run the route.
We've still not done it all, though, have we?
No. So I actually made the call, didn't I? Because, this is learnings from the week before as well, because we didn't start until 9:30.
Yeah.
And there was ideas of like 50K and the ground was really super sketchy, icy, getting up into the fells. It was fine once we were on the fells, actually, wasn't it? But so I was like, I don't think I want to, also I had a hotel room booked and it was going to be the first night I'd ever been in a hotel room without having to do a race the next day. And I was like, I don't really want to get there at like 9 o'clock at night.
I think everybody was quite pleased as we were running down the road back to Mungrisdale.
We still did 25 miles, didn't we? In 6,000 feet, I think. So it was still it was perfect day out, actually, wasn't it? But we didn't need to be out there for another 2 hours.
Should we paint a picture of the route? Give people a little flavour.
Give me a picture. So you know this route.
I'm very familiar with it, with Bob Graham Round and Lake 100 and 13 Valleys. A lot of crossover. But yeah, new trails for me too. And anyone who's coming from the East Coast or your point of entry to the lakes is Penrith side, then wow, you could do, I think it was Hugh Williams mentioned this adventure tourism. You could park up at Mungrisdale. You don't even have to go into Keswick. So it's super convenient as far as, say, doing a recce's concerned.
For me, coming down from like the north, you come off the M6, isn't it? M6,
yeah,
and then it's about 20 minutes.
And this probably isn't going to be the start of the race, but there's possibility. The finer details aren't kind of decided yet. But yeah, from Mungrisdale, you run up through the valley, then ultimately you summit Blencathra, and it is just dreamy trails. We obviously, at this time of the year, we were treated to all the autumnal colours as the sun was moving across the landscape. Honestly, it was breathtaking. And also people will know those northern fells, they're very quiet. And I don't think we saw anybody else until we started to get on the Blencathra part of the course. And then, then
it was just puppies everywhere. Yeah. We could see.
And you summer Blencathra. And, it's quite a long climb. Before you know it, it was like, oh, wow, we're there. And it's not really... I'm reluctant to say this because I appreciate everyone's abilities are slightly different, but it didn't feel like it was a horrendous climb.
It's a chatty climb. It's a good, you just get your hike on and there's nothing you need to engage butt cheeks a little bit. But once you start the hike, it's actually a really nice gradient and the views are so sensational. Oh. And also what I really like about it as well is it's not a single track climb. So we just climbed in a group chatting because you don't have to go like one after the other and there's like little technical bits. It's like
there is some single track as you come out of Mungrisdale, I suppose. But
on the way up, it's a bit more.
But the views, St John's in the Vale, where Fonside Farm Cottages is, then Downwater, Keswick. Oh, if you get a clear day,
I think we had the best day. Yeah, best day generally. The chat going up, I love the chat. I just I gave an open-ended question to Shane and went, "Tell me about Mountain Leaders Award," and he was happy. Off he goes, and I can just tap in.
That's a little trick, listeners. If you're in a group and you think, "Oh,
your strongest person," open-ended question, and then it's like having an Audrey Bowl book, and you can just tap in and ask the odd question. I was actually interested because it is something I'm thinking about doing, but also I was like, this is great because he's got so much knowledge. We wanted it to be like amazing views and that, it's challenging. It's not, you wouldn't want to, you've got to take your kit. You've got to be prepared for a big day out on the fells.
There's no 4 points of contact though. It's good.
There is no 4 points of contact. I mean, and it was really windy up there, but we never felt like exposed. There was nothing that you're like gust of wind and I'm over. So I was really happy with that part of the route and the descending as well. I was really happy that all the descent.
Once you've summited the descent down to the Blencathra Centre and then all around Glendaterra, dreamy miles, absolutely dreamy.
Sandwich miles, we called them, because they're so nice and smooth that you can eat a sandwich and trot along those trails and have almost a little bit of recovery miles before you start going up Skiddaw, a little bit steeper, that track up.
Yeah. Well, that won't be on the route. To kind of give people some geography, if you're a Lakeland 100 runner, when you are in between Braithwaite and the Blencathra Centre, there is a compulsory checkpoint which is unmanned. So at that point, if you can visualise that point, we basically get off the 13 Valleys and the Lakeland 100 route and we head towards Skiddaw House. But yeah, because time wasn't on our side, we had to take the spicy climb up to Skiddaw. But then we saw the Clag, and unfortunately, we didn't summit Skiddaw. We took a left, and then we're back kind of reverse Bob Graham round route. Oh, and then you go back to Skiddaw House twice. So it's like the route is, I suppose, currently, I'm not too sure if it's going to be changed, but currently is a figure of 8. The plan is you summit Blencathra. There is a low-level route planned if weather, hopefully end of June, we won't have to kind of implement that. But yeah, there is an option if the weather is filthy. So you summit Blencathra, you loop around those fells, and then you summit Skiddaw to, when you hit Skiddaw House again and you're heading back to Mungrisdale. Memory always plays the tricks on me, but it did feel like it was all downhill. Is that fair? Just
I think so. Yeah, it was lovely. A couple of ankle breaking iced rut bits, but that's because I was trying to eat my hula hoops at the same time. I couldn't have been happier with the route and the terrain. Like for what we requested, it was everything. The only thing missing was a tea shop, but we'll provide that in the checkpoints.
There was lots of running. I really like that. Sometimes I talk about the Bob Graham all the time, but for a lot of people, there's not a lot of running. There's a lot of kind of heavy breathing going up hills. We had 2 big lumps.
2 big lumps and lots of running.
Massive lumps. And then, lots of running in between. It's just sensational. And the views, if you are blessed with a day like what we had, Bassenthwaite, Downwater, Keswick, St John's in the Vale, Clough Head, places like that. Yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. I really need to do a recce, but more the Skiddaw side of it. Pay more attention to that. But absolutely loved
Another work day. Yeah, loved it. We will finalise all the details in the next week or so and then come back because I know people are waiting on the date. But end of June. And the reason we're putting it there, 1, for the weather, and 2, also because we did have a really good look at the ultra running calendar, thinking that if people were going to do doing any of the Lakeland events, then it fits in really well because it's a great day out. And also if you're doing South Downs Way 100, you should have a couple of weeks to recover from that. We are hoping to have a half option as well. So that was we're route planning of doing the figure of 8. So if people want a lesser day out, we're looking at hopefully getting like a 25-30k option as well, so that if you do it and you decide you want to do the lesser option halfway through the day, well, it's going to be totally inclusive. You do you. We just want people to have a great day out and drink lots of tea, eat lots of sandwiches. Cheese and pickle mandatory. If you can't eat a cheese and pickle sandwich, you need to start working on that.
Handicap.
Handicap. Yeah, at the start line, you basically down a cup of tea and eat your cheese and pickle sandwich. Then you can start, like staggered starts. We're not having that. You just got to do your cheese and pickle sandwich, cup of tea, off you go.
So after the recce Friday, I was pooped. I did do a workout. I'm not going to go on the dates. 8 times 3 minutes on the treadmill. I did all of my strength sessions, 3 non-negotiables. Now that we're going to be public-facing figures, Eddie, with this Teen Trails Ultra.
Oh,
I need to look sensational. But all in all, I'm feeling much better. Great.
Wouldn't even think about that. I would be like, oh God, lucky. I forgot my hairbrush, Gary. So I didn't even brush my hair for the 3 days that I did that long run. And then I went to the conference and I was like, I literally have just got to tell people, if you judge, you judge. This is what Eddie looks like.
Can you imagine being like, each to their own, but somebody who spends a lot of time on their appearance?
I would love to be that person because I'd love to look nicer than I do, but I don't have the time, and also I just don't care.
I shave my face and my hair at the same time.
That is disgusting.
I only use one
absolute thought.
I only use one soap
do you do an
product
upwards,
to wash everything.
Do you just literally start at the chin and then just do like an upwards?
And if I'm going somewhere nice, I'll have a proper shave afterwards, a wet shave afterwards.
No.
But that's probably...
Ladies are going wild in the aisles.
Yeah, I'm quite low maintenance, but feeling much better. And I've said it loads. I'm really enjoying runs with Rex. It's been quite treacherous at the moment with the ice. I've not went flying.
Even Lindy went flying on the ice over the weekend.
Oh my goodness. But all these little, lots of little runs. And we talked about it a little bit when we were running. It's not ideal but it's better than the alternative of walking wrecks and losing all that time. And yeah, he's loving it. And he did get fat shamed by the vet a few months ago. Said he was getting a bit chunky.
I'd change vets. I wouldn't even. I'd be like, that is outrageous. I'd pick up my dog and walk out.
We've only been doing this maybe a couple of weeks, and his harness is a lot looser. So yeah, fun times for everybody.
This week's Brew with the Coaches is brought to you by Beta Outdoor Sports. Thank you, Beta, for supporting Brew with the Coaches. They distribute brands like Nat Nutrition, Ultimate Direction, Knock Around Sunglasses, BV Sports, Catula Spikes. Couldn't find mine for that, Recce. Luckily, we didn't need them. Instinct Running, which is Gary's belt. Lots of people ask about that. And Injinji toe socks. You provided me one of their incredible Stroop waffles, did you? Oh,
sensational.
That's good. I need to order some before the winter because they're moist as well. They're large, they're moist, they're everything I'm looking for in a snack.
Well, I did abuse my Patreon discount code. So I ordered, after our chat about the peanut butter recipe, the Reese's, I've ordered some of their protein, peanut butter, and a stash of Stroop waffles too. But such a good pre-run snack. Because if you have a gel, you get the carbs, but
you don't want a gel as you're leaving the house, do you? Exactly. That's just sad times, isn't it? But you need something with a cup of tea, basically. Well, I do, because I like to, as I'm leaving the house, I like to be literally last slurp of tea, and then I feel I can do that 45-minute run without having a cup of tea.
I really love a Stroop waffle when I just lean it on the top of the cup. And a hot cup of tea. And the caramel stops melting.
Anyway, get 15% off over at uk.knack.com. This week's question is from Kirsty Ashton, one of my original ever coaching clients, Kirsty Ashton, many, many, many years ago. She is asking about deep vein thrombosis, which you're all going to enjoy because Gary insists on saying deep vein thrombosis throughout the question.
I edited most of it out, actually.
Oh, no, I'm so sad because you say it about 15 times. But
I couldn't say it after a bit.
It's a great question and hope some of the answers help Kirsty.
I recently got diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis. I had not been flying and all the tests showed up nothing sinister, which was great. Although mostly a runner, I had completed a big cycle challenge and travelled back from Europe by train before the deep vein thrombosis. There is little info online about deep vein thrombosis for ultra competitors, and perhaps there being a link. I was just wondering if any of the coaches had come across any other data on this, and if so, how to make sure it does not happen again. Also, any advice on how to train in the early days of deep vein thrombosis would be appreciated, as anything I read is contradictory. Thanks. And that comes from Kirsty Ashton. That sounds so scary. And I think, it could be 10, 15 years ago, there's a lot of fear around those words, deep vein thrombosis. And again, I am not a doctor, but I would have thought activity would have been beneficial.
Let's ask Rebecca, what is it and any experience on this?
Yeah, a DVT is a blood clot in one of your deeper veins, so usually in your leg, so your lower leg or sometimes higher up. And it generally presents with a swollen, painful leg, calf usually. The problem with it is, and why we worry about it, is because the blood clot sat in the vein can then move somewhere else and move to your lung and cause problems. So we like to get on and treat it. And the way it's treated is with blood thinning medication. This particular person, they ask about whether or not there's any link with ultra competitive sport or ultra distance sport in particular. And there is some evidence to say that your blood clotting mechanisms are affected by endurance sport, and you can have a period of time after the event where your blood might be a little bit stickier and then make you more prone to these things, particularly if you then go into a period of travel immediately after a race and your long haul flight or long journey back, static in a car or on a train in this case. So there is some link that maybe that increases your risk for a short period of time. Although, as you say, you would expect these things to be less in people who are otherwise active, and certainly being generally active is better. But there is that little period of time where maybe your risk goes up. In terms of not making sure it doesn't happen again, obviously this person is likely to be on a period of treatment for a few a period of a few months on a blood thinner to make sure the clot has gone and to make sure there isn't any chance of it reforming. Obviously, you normally go through some tests to make sure there's nothing which is predisposing you to have had this clot. If there's any conditions in your family, for example, do blood clots run in the family, and is there any sort of condition which may mean that you're due to have another one in the future if you have the same situation? So providing that's all clear, you'd normally just go through a period of a few months of treatment, and then hopefully that'll be it. And it was just one of those unfortunate situations that occurred. But certainly taking the usual precautions when you fly, exercise, walking around the plane, keeping hydrated, all of those sorts of things is the standard advice to prevent these things anyway. In terms of how you train in the early days of a DVT, you'd normally say for the first 3 weeks not to do anything particularly, just focus on recovery. Your leg will be swollen, it'll be painful, it'll just make sense not to want to run with that, and obviously, as I say, you want to make sure things are healing and there's no chance of the blood clot moving anywhere else. And then after that, it's sort of a gradual, all I could find really in terms of guidelines on it was just a gradual build up thereafter, kind of anecdotal case report stuff, and starting probably with non-impact things like swimming, cycling, and then running maybe from no earlier than sort of 6 weeks is what I could find. But I haven't got any personal experience of treating runners returning to running after a DVT, certainly not within a quicker timescale than that. People usually take their time to recover. Otherwise, it'll just be painful and it'll just be swollen. And there can be issues with persistent swelling after these things because it can cause damage to that vein. So that circulation system may not work as well. So you want to make sure the healing and everything takes place first of all.
I used to have to fly back a lot after races when we were in France. Sometimes I'd finish 100-miler and get straight on the plane in my kit, which is terrible. But I used to put compression leggings on and take two massive bottles of electrolyte onto the plane, as well as a sort of like, just in case. I was going to be so dehydrated. As Rebecca said, my blood was going to be sticky, thick with gels. And so I used to try and walk around the plane holding onto the edges of the seats going, oh my gosh. So there are things you can do on a compression. I mean, I don't actually think there's any studies to say that compression would actually stop DVT, but it would definitely help. And obviously drinking as well. And I think if you were perhaps prone to it, had a experience of it before as well, I'd be very careful with traveling after a long race as well. I'd give yourself a couple of days of not sitting still to allow yourself to rehydrate and recover and move. So it might be that you just need to change your lifestyle a little bit. And the same with maybe when you're doing long runs and there's a chance that you might be dehydrated afterwards. Is dehydration, could that affect it, make it worse, Rebecca?
Yeah, I think the advice is to stay hydrated just so your blood isn't any sort of thicker than it otherwise would be. And again, that sort of change within the composition of the blood that can occur during endurance exercise. You add to that the fact that you then have slightly stickier blood. It's pooled in your legs. There's something related potentially to having a lower pulse rate, and again, not having that more dynamic circulation as well. There was something I read. So all of those factors, probably it's difficult to know how much each one affects these things, but it's something you can control, isn't it? Making sure you're not overly dehydrated is a relatively easy thing to sort of get on top of, and it may help.
And then just come back really slow. And I would have thought stay off impact, exercise, bike, swim, to allow the vein to not put too much pressure on the circulatory system as well. Trish and Russell, have you got anything to add?
I mean, everything that I've read on DVT is, it does make athletes generally are more prone to it because of the two key factors being dehydration and inflammation, particularly after endurance events, and that kind of thickening as such that Rebecca was talking about. The reality is how we all respond to really big endurance events where there's lots and lots of swelling. There's definitely an increased risk there. Two of the things that I would say I would look at and actively employ doing is, one, you've got to focus on movement. So regardless of how you're feeling when you finish your race and you're going to get in the car or flight or whatever, is movement. So you have to maintain movement. And if that means you have to get out of your car every 30 minutes on the way home and just have a little walk around, you need to stay mobile. Staying mobile is pretty key. And the second one I would highly recommend is medical grade compression socks. Now they're fantastic. I use those just for general swelling, but they're recommended for DVT as well.
Just my daily general.
I just use them just my daily evening.
That's a bit swollen. I'll put my sock on it.
Yeah. And the other piece is actually what I'm wearing right now. Just a casual evening. But the other piece, and again, you obviously talk to a doctor prior to taking any kind of pills or whatever, but aspirin obviously is a good blood thinner as well. People have been using it for a long time. It actually says that on the packet, I think, as well. So those are my top tips for DVT, but ultimately you need to talk to a doctor about it and figure out what's best for you going forward.
Good luck, Kirsty. Get those compression tights on your swelling, and be careful. Get on your bike, and let us know how you get on.
Good luck, Kirsty. We're so lucky to have Rebecca for questions like that. Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. We don't do this every week, but thanks,
We
Trish.
don't, and we should.
Should do, yeah. Thanks, Trish, Russell. Best of luck, Kirsty.
If you have a question for our coaches and your Patreon, then email hello@tntrails.com. Pop the words "brew with the coaches" in the subject.
Thanks, X Miles, the one-stop kit and nutrition shop, for sponsoring our main interview. Don't forget, patrons can receive 10% off over at www.xmiles.co.uk. You've got to check out their awesome nutrition planner. It will create a personalised nutrition plan, and you're not wedded to any one brand. As long as X Miles have it in stock, then yeah, you can add it to your plan. But yeah, it gives you recommendations for your protein, your carbohydrates, pre, during and after an event, and then add them to your basket and then complete the checkout. Really, really cool little nutrition planner. Jacob Tonkin is a popular figure in the Cumbrian fell running scene. I don't want to spoil it, but Jacob's story of life before and after finding his furry bestie is something many of us dog owners can resonate with. I watched the film George, and I had a chat with Lisa about it just before we got into the mics here, and within a few minutes, we both had something in our eye. So yeah, just a little warning before, maybe grab the hankies. But as always, we'll do our intro via AI. Jacob Tonkin is a well-known figure in the fell running community, especially around the Lake District. Jacob has completed several challenging endurance events, including the Bob Graham Round and the Frog Graham Round. Yeah, we'll get into that. Actually, I'm super curious. Jacob runs Tonkin massage therapies in Keswick. Jacob, I've got to ask, what's the difference between a physio and a massage therapist?
Well, I mean, technical title for me is a body mechanic, but if I say body mechanic, people actually ring me up. They ring me up asking for like the cars. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not masculine enough to know anything about cars. Like, I can top windscreen wash up, but that's about it.
Have you actually had someone say?
Oh yeah, all the time. The things I could tell you about my work are just hilarious. So I say massage therapies because it's a bit of in the realm between a physio, a masseur, an osteopath, a chiropractor. It kind of everything comes together into one. So
psychotherapist.
I kind of usually give a very definitely. I usually give a very vague answer when people, what do you do for work? I just say I touch people for money, really. So yeah, but then I kind of leave it to what I can do to do the talking, really. So I'm a terrible advertiser, as an advertisement for myself, really.
Touch me for money, Jacob.
Me too, anytime. Next time I'm in Keswick, book you up.
Okay, Jacob has faced significant health challenges, including being diagnosed with Crohn's disease. His dog George played a crucial role in helping him through his difficult time. Jacob's story was even featured in a film called George, which celebrates the bond between him and his dog. Jacob is an active member of Keswick AC and has created routes like the George Fisher Tea Round, linking up all the tops visible from the calf window at George Fisher. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. You was part of a team?
Most of the work was done between four of us, but then I kind of got it out there a bit. So there's a really tall guy from West Cumberland called Alan Porthouse, who I was working with, and he came to me one day and he went, "Hell, Jacob, that'd be a good day out, that, wouldn't it?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, it would." So on our days off, we'd start going out and start wrecking bits of the route. And then I put it all together and put it out there that I was going to have a go, and we'd created this as a stepping stone for the Bob. Yeah. So it had influence from 3 other people. I mean, they say it was
you
me.
did all the hard graft. You don't have to cite these other people.
Well, I wouldn't ever claim that it was only me. The other
Sounds
3 are like,
it.
no, you did that. So I don't take all the credit for it.
Well, you can do, because also we've had some pretty treacherous tales from the trails on the George Fisher round of people that thought, because it's got tea in it, that this would be a lovely day out, nice and easy, cruisy doozy. And then they've realised that it's the route. I don't want to say the route from hell, but it's a lot tougher.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
I mean, it was designed to be a stepping stone onto something like the Bob or the Frog. So it's designed to get a lot of climbing done in a short amount of time. And
I think that's it. And
trashed.
There's a lot of up and down, and there's a lot of go down. Oh, then you're going back up, and people are like, "What?"
I mean, if you think you go from Little Town, up Robinson, down to Buttermere, up High Style, down to Buttermere, and then up to the top of Grazedale Pike, and you do that, it's like nearly 7,000 foot of climb in about 8-9 miles, and that's the middle section of it. And then after that, you've got just like 2 relatively cruisy 10-mile chunks, and then you're done.
I would say as an intro to Bob Graham Round is almost an understatement. It's almost like just a warm-up.
I think the cool thing about it is that for a lot of people, that might be their pinnacle of their running career, is doing that. Yeah. And, it's like 12,000 foot of climb in marathon distance. So it's a lot. And, but for other people, they can use it to a warm-up or a stepping stone onto bigger and better things. But it kind of has a place in everyone's running career. And they've got the espresso round, which my coach Dave Troman created, which again, it's like half marathon distance that. You do the first and the last 2 of the tea room round. And again, that might be the pinnacle of some people's running career. Other people, it's a stepping stone onto bigger and better things. So I just love the fact that we've got all these little routes which you can sort of see progression as you're going along them all.
I love it. I've fancied the tea round, and I probably will do it one day, but it is a huge day. So I did the espresso round with a friend. It must be lovely though, as a legacy, to see people do that and come back to George Fisher shop. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it is cool. If you're in Buttermere in a weekend and you see a group of folk, chances are they're doing the tea room round. I'll always say hello and give them a wave, and sometimes they recognise you. I'm like, "Oh, I've got you to thank for this, have I?" And I'm like, and sometimes I put my hood up and kind of hide my face. And, "Oh, have a nice day."
And which way on the actual tea round? Which way do you go up Robinson? Because see, if you're doing teenage with altitude, you do a horrible climb up to Robinson, but say reverse Bob, it's not a bad climb up to Robinson.
That's a lot nicer than the other bit.
You reckon?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you've got that nice runnable bit, then the steep climb up, haven't you? I mean, I did my Bob Graham anti-clockwise, so I went up that way as well. Anniversary Walt's last 2 years, I've taken completely different lines to everyone else. So as you go up that steep bit and you come up by that tree on the top, there's another bit where you can just straight line it, and you go up a bit of almost scree, loose rocks, and then come out at the bottom of the craggy bit, which is about 36 seconds quicker, which is very, I know that sounds very specific.
Gary looks terrible. He's like, never run with Jacob. Never.
I'm not as bad. It's just I hang around with a lot of people who know everything to the second how quicker they are.
I love that intimate knowledge. It's just how I felt like back in my Alps, that I knew every line of every bit, and I'd be like, "That's slightly quicker. Just go around that tree. You know that tree at the top," and everyone would be looking at me like going, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
I love it.
I'd always do that if I was say going to do a route over the lakes. I'm from the East Coast, Jacob, so I'd always go maybe say on Kim Collison's Strava, and I thought, well, if that's the line, especially around say Mount Grisdale, that's the line Kim's taken. That's good enough. That's good enough for me too. We're going to move on, actually. Jacob's resilience and dedication to both his personal and professional life are truly inspiring. How did AI do, Jacob? Happy with that?
Well, it was very generous.
I wonder if you put somebody who's from history, not a pleasant person, if it's
We
still
should test
generous.
this. We should test this.
Yeah.
Let's put in Henry VIII and see what happens.
Funnily enough, I've been saying, because I've done nothing but eat and drink for the last month. So I've had a lot of holidays and I've enjoyed myself at the end of the season. And I have been saying that I've been living the life of Henry VIII for about the last 6 weeks. Obviously, minusing the
With all
murdering
the women,
of wives.
Just the booze and the meat. Yeah.
Just the booze and the meat, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Put in someone really horrible from history and see what it spits out. We ask all our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
I am in Fisher Place, which is just down the road from Fawnside Farm, Thirlmere. I'm sat in my kitchen and I'm looking out towards Fawnside, and I can see Blencathra, Castle Rock, like Watson's Dodd and Bram Crag.
Any snow on the tops?
No, we had snow at the weekend, and it cancelled the Stybarrow Dodd race, which is in my back garden. But then by Sunday, it'd all gone, so I haven't been able to see any. And I have yet to go for a run. I've got a session this afternoon. Well, before I go to work.
What's it going to be? What's Dave got on the plan?
It's just a 40-minute tempo.
Just a 40-minute tempo.
We're messing around with like power now to like measure as a measurement, which is pretty interesting thing, really. Different from just traditional heart rate zones and stuff like that. So the goal for December is to get a grip of power zones a bit better. How
does your watch measure power? Do I need to upgrade my Suntour? I've never used that.
Yeah, I mean it's a very, very long, complex equation and mathematical thing coming, which I'm not known for maths. Dave could chew your ear off about it for hours.
Dave will have spreadsheets everywhere.
He does. He has sent me a spreadsheet, so I have a little window to work on. I mean, they do it in cycling, don't they? Everything's power these days in cycling. Running's a little bit more of a complex equation because it's not just how hard you're pushing on the pedals, but it takes in a whole other side of things. Yeah, I've had significant burnout this year from being a traditional fell runner, an orienteer, of just racing too much
and working on all those cars all the time as well, being a massage therapist and getting all those dents out the car doors.
Yeah. And we've moved house, so I just need the reins put on me a little bit, because if not, I'd happily race at least twice a week, every week.
You said in the film, you sort of drop it in, you're like, I did a fell race and then I was going out to support somebody for a Bob Graham at 2 a.m. and my red flags were like, ding, 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 ding. I was like, oh, this guy, it's got no stop.
No,
he loves it.
Has no chill. Yeah. But I mean, when you're helping someone on a bob, you're obviously going slower than you normally would. So it's recovery pace, right?
Yeah, but it's still 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, you are so much better person than I am. I would be like...
We've got a similar session, actually. Mine it's called up tempo. I'm not too sure what that means. I think it's slightly below threshold. But about 40 minutes, but I've got to go uphill.
Uphill for 40 minutes.
I know. There's 35 or 40 minutes. Maybe it's going to be 35 minutes. We'll say, what is the summer like for fell races? Is it literally every other night there's something going on?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, up here, there's more fell events than anything else. An expensive fell race is about 20 quid. So most of them are around about a fiver. I live right slap bang in the middle of the Lake District. So I can get to what feels like never-ending amount of races within 20 minutes from my house. From sort of late March through to September, you can race every Wednesday, every Saturday, every Sunday if you want to, and there's orienteering events on every Thursday. You've just got a never-ending list of things to go at. A lot of people look at how many races us fell runners do and think, how have you got the money for doing all those? But they're looking at it from more of the trail aspect, where the races are generally more expensive. Yeah. Because you've got more things that they have to pay for.
Yeah, it's more infrastructure, isn't there?
Yeah, they've got the checkpoints, whereas, everyone asks me, well, what's the difference between fell and trail running? And I would say, as a general rule of thumb here, trail races go over the passes and round the valley bottoms and around the lakes. They do go to some tops, but you're usually on a confined route. So you have to do that set route. Whereas a fell race would normally go to summits, they're the checkpoints, but you can usually go anywhere you want in between those summits. So it brings up this whole other world of running, and there's things that become more and more important. So knowing all those little sneaky lines and knowing the fells really well, I'd want to be able to say that I know an area like the back of my hand, And I'd prefer that than to think, oh, I'm the fastest person's ever gone up and down that. Yeah, I long for that knowledge and that sense of belonging on the fells, which is what I want.
I hear that so much that's exactly what I love too. Like when I look out of my window, I know every detail of every hill, every path. I know what's happening on that, and I love doing that. Like where my feet have trampled within a 10-mile radius. That's what I like, and that's what and if anybody says, you know, so and so, and I go, yeah, I know that place. Yeah, it's got that little path in it. And I love that. It's such a privilege as well. It's such a privilege to have that knowledge as well.
Oh, it's amazing. Like my nan and granddad lived down at the quarry at Threlcold, and they're right in the front row, and their bedroom window looks right onto Blencathra. Their favourite thing to do in the mornings was always sit in bed with a cup of tea and some biscuits. They'd open the curtain windows and they'd just look at Blencathra. And my granddad would be thinking about all the times he went down Hallsfell in the dark, helping someone's bob, or, you know, and then if I was ever helping on a bob, they'd just keep the bedroom curtains open and wait to look for the head torches down. Yeah, and then I'd go and see him the day after. Oh, we seen you again. And, you know, it's that kind of thing. And my granddad, nan and granddad could look and see where my head torch was coming down Hallsfell and know exactly which rock I'm standing on. That's cool. And, you know, anyone can go and do races and anyone can run wherever you want. But it's that having knowledge that I think is the most important thing, and the thing that I would give, you know, anyone my unwavering respect is that they know an area like the back of your hand. And if you're helping or you want someone's help of the bob, like you just said, Gary, you want someone who knows that area really well. So like Kim Collinson, Northern Fells, awesome. You know, I hope that one day someone thinks that I'm like the Helvellyn Ridge. You know, that's my area. There's other people for South Lakes, and yeah, you know, that's the cool thing and what I kind of would strive for.
Sometimes you just think, I know people have been there before, but you can feel like, I don't think anyone has touched this blade of grass before.
Yeah.
And then you see people in your normal routes that you never normally see, and you're like,
it's so annoying, isn't it?
That's actually what you're doing.
Yeah.
Where are you going to take us out for a run? Local highlights.
I mean, I make it a rule that I never properly disclose my favourite route because, like Eddie's just said, if I ever see anyone on that, I'll be so annoyed.
Raging. I know it made me sound a bit like unsharey, but
nobody's listening.
No,
Jacob.
I know, but if you're right, so if you're coming to our house, what we'd do is
maybe like just your average. You're like, you know, everybody has like their favourite 60-minute run.
You've got three options from here.
Okay.
Right, we either go up Raven Crag, which is a bit more traily, because it's all on like a forest logging trail. Really nice, good hours run. You've got High Rig and Low Rig, which is a bit more of a circular route. But if you were coming here,
especially for a run,
we'd probably go down to Fawnside Farm.
Yeah,
we can wave through them through the window.
Get biscuit. Yeah.
We'd go up the climb up the back of theirs.
Oh, I've done
great.
it.
Looks steep. That looks
Crag.
steep. Yeah.
And then we'd come over Great Dodd, Watson's Dodd, Stybarrow, Raise, Whiteside, then we'd drop down past the blinking infinity pools at the back of our house and then finish off in the back garden. So that's where we'd go, which is maybe takes me about an hour and a half, that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a lot of words to fit into 60 minutes. Takes you about an hour and a half, take me and Gary about 2.5 hours probably with our fell running downhill technique. We'd be like, see you later.
Yeah. I'll be still climbing Great Dodd. Oh, good. You didn't sound too keen on the infinity pools. You get lots of people go for swims?
Yeah, sadly, it's just been sort of trashed now, which is the downside of social media, isn't it? In fact, I'm not a local who just wants to slag off tourists because obviously they bring a lot of good to the area. But yeah, there are some people, sadly, who have come and sort of trashed it and have a load of broken glass in the water, and you know, it's a shame that it's gone the way it has, but, you know, there are a lot of responsible people who go up and just enjoy it for what it is. You know, when you've got people knocking on your front door asking where the secret infinity pools are, after a while it does get a little bit annoying.
Yeah.
So I would always say, well, if you get your map out, I'll show you. Oh, well, I've not got a
compass?
Map. Yeah, and like, I haven't got a map. So I'm like, oh, well, you're not going to find it then, are you?
Slam the door.
Yeah.
Never heard of them. That must be a big... I've not lived here long. Let's talk about the film. I watched it. We're very lucky to get a secret link to watch it. And I watched it yesterday with my 14-year-old son, and it was It was absolutely beautiful. We were both transfixed, both by not only the story, and you're a very good. I don't know. There must be a technical word, but your words to camera are really so beautifully put together. And as you told us before, it's not scripted in any way, so it's just a natural. It's just your sort of dialogue to what you're thinking as well. But it's absolutely, the cinematography in it is incredible as well. And if you've never been to the lakes, it's such a little vignette into the seasons at the lakes as well. Can you tell us a little bit? We're going to try, everybody that's listening, we're going to try and talk about the film as much as we can without giving away too many details of the film. So we're going to sort of skirt around the story of the film, but can you tell us whose idea the film was, how it came about being made?
Yeah, so James Appleton has made it all. He's done everything to it.
Did he do everything, like the editing? Wow,
Absolutely
gosh.
All James's work. Him and I became, really good mates, and we'd go out for runs, and he's a lot fitter than I am. So most of the time he had to bring cameras to slow him down to go at my pace, pretty much. We'd be going out, and James just goes and takes photos and gets footage of stuff. In the film, it's the best footage I've ever seen of my home. And there's some shots in it. There's a shot right at the start coming down off Cat Bells, and there's an inversion, and the sun has turned all the clouds golden. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it again. And it's full of shots like that. And James has had, in the time he lived here, because he now lives up in Ullapool in Scotland, he's had all these years of running out with a camera and getting what I believe are his greatest hits. He's always wanted something to do, to show these off. So he wasn't sure if it was going to produce like a book or a short film about fell running. And then as he got more and more pally with me, and we'd be sharing stories on our runs, he heard about me being ill and me getting George and then everything else that's happened. He was like, well, I want to share this story. I feel very honoured that he has chosen mine and George's story to get across what I think is his best work he's ever made. And certainly if you go he's one of the owners of Fellpack and the Round in Keswick. So if you go into Fellpack and the Round, everything down to the wallpaper are James's shots. So they've got a video showing in both of them, which is all his stuff that he's got. Like, the stuff that in the film isn't the stuff that's being shown there. So it's like, it's better than that. If you like the Lake District, the shots in that are just breathtaking. And even if you don't like running, or you don't like dogs, you don't like diseases about pooing your pants, it's worth going to see it for that and for the footage.
So some of the footage that's in it, was it always going to be about the film, or was it just you and James running and then you used the footage post when he thought, I'm going to put this all together?
Yeah, so there's bits in it we used for other things. So there's the cover photo of me wearing a white jacket and running with George. That was technically for an advert for Mountain Fuel. We both know River Bonington really well. So then he took some of that from that. There's a couple of bits where I'm swimming, which were for a shoot for Dry Robe, which we did
you're a
together.
Part-time model.
Yeah, well, no, I am actually.
Just a shoot I was doing for
the least attractive model you'll ever see.
Stop that.
But yeah, so it had all these different links, and then James then pulled it together. Like I say, I just feel really, really lucky that he's got that, and he's chosen mine and George's story for that. But when people ask me to describe the film, I don't really take any ownership of me, and I certainly don't say, oh, I've got a film out. Yeah. I'm like, oh, there's a film out at the moment, and I guess it's about me, but it's about loads of things. We've had it showing at the cinema in Keswick for the last couple of months now, and we've had loads of sellouts, and Jonathan, who runs the cinema, and Carol, they say that it's kind of 4 films in one, which I think is the best way of describing it.
Yeah, I like that. Let's start at the beginning of the film, because you do start, let's just be frank about it, you start off with you suddenly pooing your pants when you're running. Can you tell us a little bit about, and you went on to be diagnosed with Crohn's disease, can you tell us a little bit, because I'm absolutely sure there'll be people that are listening that perhaps might have the symptoms to this, but also might be perhaps starting the journey with Crohn's disease or have it as well, and feel such empathy of like, oh gosh, yeah, hearing another runner that manages to run with the disease as well. Can you tell us a little bit about perhaps what is the disease and now how you're living with it?
Crohn's disease is inflammatory bowel disease, and it's an autoimmune disease, and it's linked with loads of different nasty things like chronic fatigue, anemia, all horrible, nasty things that come through it. So, yeah, and I'd got reasonably fit, was running pretty well, did a race on the Northern Fells, and suddenly had to go to the toilet. And it's not uncommon for runners to suddenly need to go to the toilet because of the movements and, any adhesions around your intestines. So you just think, there's now to that. But I then was on a massive downward spiral of getting worse and worse and worse, and it led to a very long procedure of trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
So you didn't go to the doctor and then go, this is what it is.
No. So I went to the doctor, and it was all, it could be this, it could be that, getting tested for this, tested for that, and nothing was working. I was still really, really ill. Was seeing a doctor down in Lancaster Way, down near Blackpool, and he basically just put me on steroids for ages to try and fight him. And I was on steroids for 9 months, right? And then all of a sudden he just stopped the steroids. And I had a load of horrible things happening to me.
Horrible things
like
after
my
that.
fingernails were starting to fall off. I was getting blood blisters in my mouth. My hair was falling out.
Goodness.
And, I was early mid-20s at this point. And it's terrifying. I work out in my mum's beauty salon up in the top floor. And Mum had a chap in downstairs, and he was saying about his daughter who'd also been through a similar thing. And he said, you need to go see Mr. Mansfield at the RVI in Newcastle. I rang up, tried to get an appointment with him, had to wait a month or so. I mean, I was 18 months down the line at this point. I'd lost a load of weight. I didn't look like myself. I couldn't run. He was the one who got me sorted, and really quickly he got the ball rolling. There does seem to be a trend with a load of people who've gone through similar things, that we all need to apparently reach complete rock bottom before we're taken seriously, that this is, it's not just food poisoning, it's not just an allergy. I sat down, he was the first doctor who sat down with me, and there was nothing between us, like no computer or desk or anything. He just said, you're from the Lake District, are you? I went, yeah. He goes, what's your favourite weight, Great Gable? And I was like, right. Well,
you
I'm
must
not
be like,
here to talk about that. And I said, well, probably, the way you go on clockwise Bob Graham, so up from Kirk Fell. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I go stop in Wasdale every year, camping with my family. And he goes, I bet you can't wait to get back up there, can you? I was like, no. Because another doctors would be like, oh, you'll never run again. He was the first person to treat me like a person, which I think is really, really important. And it's certainly something I try and do with my line of work when you're dealing with people with long-term injuries is, remember that they are people, and, they're upset.
And when can we get you back running? Because that's all us as runners want to know.
Yeah.
We don't really care what it will take. We'll do anything.
No, we don't do it.
We want the practitioner to be on that same, if they're on that path with us, and the first thing they say, like he did, was like, right, let's get you back. You're like, you understand everything about me. I don't need to even say anything else. You starting to get some treatment and it working, to tell us the little story about how George came into your life, because that's delicious.
Well, so it was the day after I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So I'd been and had every test under the sun done to me. I've got some very, very funny stories about those tests.
Just horrendous.
And,
a lot of lube and
so
gloves.
I was sat on top of Castle Head, which is a little mound just outside of the middle of Keswick, looking out across Derwentwater. Probably one of the best views in the Lake District. And a message pinged up on my phone that there was some puppies up at the farm, and I was in a mood for cheering myself up. And so I ran down Castle Head, and I bumped into my auntie, who said, oh, where are you going so quick? Like, she hadn't seen me run for over a year, and I was running.
I love that your auntie was just out there.
Yeah,
you've probably got an auntie in on every fell, every cafe.
But so I bumped into her, and the only thing I could say was, well, I'm going to see a man about a dog, which, wasn't actually a lie. And then I went up to Burns Farm, where George was born, and met him. And, while she's rummaging through which ones are spoken for, which one's available, this little fat blob came up to me and bit me on the hand really hard, jumped on my leg and fell asleep. And then the lady couldn't find the last one that was available, and she said, oh, it's that one on your lap. For me, it was that Harry Potter moment when the wand chooses the wizard, and I thought, well, that's it. We're gonna have to bring him home.
Had you had a dog in your life before? Had you grown up with dogs?
I hadn't grown up with them.
No. Okay.
No. I had, my ex-girlfriend had a dog called Ralph, who's a Labradoodle, and he was great. Loved him. I had no idea what I was doing really with the puppy. So we spent the whole next 6 weeks sort of sorting the house, making it puppy proof, and then George came home with us. I had gone from being really upset that I couldn't run to suddenly not really caring that I couldn't run because I had George. We were both growing, I was healing and getting better, and yeah, I think, you know, the vast majority of my recovery was really down to the psychological side of it, in that it's okay to actually not worry about going for a run, and you know, these things are happening to me. But I think with a combination of Mr. Mansfield, everyone at the RVI, George, you know, we were coming out of winter, it was that whole combination that my whole spirits were just lifting, that I wasn't on my own dealing with it. Where up until that point, and yes, you know, my family were awesome with supporting me, but at the end of the day, you're the only one sat on the toilet and all that's coming out is blood. You know, you don't really want someone there holding your hand at that moment, do you? You just want to be left alone. It did feel a very lonely place, and all my friends are going out and having fun and doing races, and I couldn't look at Strava anymore because I was just jealous and I had really bad FOMO. Then suddenly I was like, well, I don't even look at my phone. I've got an 8-week-old puppy that's causing absolute havoc. So you're chasing him around the house and he's pooing and weeing everywhere, and then suddenly our whole life becomes down to poos and wees. And if it's not talking about George's, he's not talking about George's poos, he's talking about my poo. And like, oh, we've had a day where we've both done a solid poo. Way.
What have you eaten now, George or Jacob?
My best mate, his daughter was born about the same time that I got George, and there was one day we were walking downtown and we'd come into the middle of town by Greg's, and we got stopped 20 times from going from Greg's at the top end down Main Street before we got to Black's, because people were like, oh, look, a baby, oh, a puppy.
The ultimate combination.
It would have been 21 times if you bumped into Eddie. My goodness me, you can't walk past a dog.
No, I have to. It's important, Jacob, isn't it, that you say hello to all the puppies that you run past. And then you stop and you say good morning, and if they need a little cuddle, I'm there for it. When did you think I'm going to go running with George? Was that, or did you always think, because you must have started like walking him, probably you on your same fitness journey, like together a little bit as well?
Yeah, and he's a border collie. You know, he's designed for going out on the fell.
He's got to work, hasn't he? I've got a pointer, and they need to cover some miles in order to be sane in the household. And as well. You know,
general rule of thumb is you wait till they're like 1 year old, don't you, before you start doing stuff. I mean, George was a quick grower. You know, he got to like 9-10 months, and I was like, he was
enormous. He was enormous for a collie.
He was a big lad.
Yeah, he's a big lad.
You know, right? Well, he was fully grown about 9-10 months, so I thought, well, you know, we'll start little trots, and we were both about similar fitness. And you know, my first fell race I did back after being ill, my mum brought George along, and so he was there at the end, and he just went everywhere with me. He was I've never met another dog that looks like George. He's predominantly white with black spots, which you know, people are like, oh, is he part Dalmatian? And I was like, no, he's just got spots. So yeah, we were just inseparable. Most of my recovery, as I say, is down to George, really, or you know, what he represented in my life.
Eddie and I, we both got dogs, and we love our dogs dearly, but every now and again they're little shits, and sometimes the run isn't fun. Yeah, what was your experience with George? Was it always fun?
No, because he says in the film, does he come and do the last bit of the frog ground with him, and you let slip and you're like, he's still a twat.
I mean, George as a collie was obsessed with, you know, chasing like sticks and tennis balls and whatnot. So if you're down by the lake, you always wanted a stick thrown in the water for him to swim after. If you're anywhere else, you just wanted stuff to fetch back to you. Loved it. And you know, there are times when they annoy you, but you know, you look back at that and that's what you miss, isn't it? That's what you want. And you know how we've got our favourite runs and favourite routes to go on, but when you're a dog owner, you end up doing the same, probably like 3 mile loop. At what point is that 3 mile loop you do every day actually your favourite loop? Like, I've got it round Great Howe across the road from me, and I'll go around there at least 3 times a week, and that's a little half-hour jog. If I can't be asked to, or I haven't got time to do much more, me and Hector now will just run round there. We get that over and done with, and then we come back home. And if I have a week where I don't do that, I'm like, oh, I miss going around the house. But it's literally just a little, it's a trail round a lump.
You know all the sniffs, you know all the branches, you know the bits where you've got to stop, and there's the little gap through, that's where the deer or the rabbits come through, and we have to really smell around there, because that was really that bit.
Yeah. Oh, Hector's barking now. What are you barking at?
So how old's Hector?
Yeah, so Hector is 4 now, and he is actually George's nephew. So George's brother is Hector's dad.
Oh my, this is
And
too much.
George was Hector's from the farm just on the corner by where George was born, and it turned out that Hector's dad, went for a night of passion away, and he snuck through, went and met Hector's mum, and that's how Hector was born. So George is named George because of my granddad, who isn't called George, but he calls all of us grandkids George. Doesn't matter if we're boy or girl, we've always been George. And I
love this. Is this the granddad that drinks tea and eats biscuits in bed?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I think to my granddad, like, well done for picking such a good gender neutral name, and he's way ahead of the times. Hector's called Hector because of my nana, who wasn't called Hector. She was actually Vera, but no one called her Vera. She was always Uni. Another long story, but we've all got nicknames in our family. So
we have exactly the same, Jacob. No one in my family is called by their name, and the stories of how the names come about are so long and have been twisted in time so much that some people don't even know why they're called that name, but they don't even reply to their normal name. Like if if any of my family called me Edwina, I'd be like, oh Lord, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah, I mean, I was well into my 20s before I realised what my nana's real name was.
Okay. So sorry, I lost the Hector thread.
Hector's called Hector because my nana never ever swore, and instead of swearing, she used to say Hecky Bobs. So he's Hector Robert that gets shortened to Hecky Bobs. So yeah, Hector lives here with us now, obviously. Yeah, me and Hector do quite a lot of canicross racing together, actually.
How are you finding that?
Oh, Hector has. Oh well, I let the side down last time. And Hector, up until the last one we did, had never not won a canicross event. And he's tiny, like heck. He's such a small collie. Honestly, when I run with a dog, I've never synced up quite like I do with Hector. Because if we're coming down the trees and we're racing in Windlatter, and I think go left around that tree, he's gone around the tree left exactly where I would. So when we come to downhills, like I like to think I'm a good descender, but when I run with Heck, like again, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about. I cry at the end of each one because I'm that proud of him, and like we both collapse in a heap, and it's amazing. And I absolutely love it. So we've got one on this Sunday down in Grisdale Forest, actually, in the South Lakes. Yeah, I'm so proud of Heck. George was this little angelic figure in our family that could do no wrong, right? And he's, now that he's not here, he lives on this shelf, and it's like, there's a picture of him up there above every other, anything else, and George would never have done that. And Hector's a bit rag and a bit wild, and he barks a lot.
Well, he's a love child as well, isn't he?
He is.
He's born out of a night of passion, so he was always going to be his own guy. Leather jacket, fag.
Yeah. I like to think about Rex like he's my best mate, like say maybe from school. And he'd be the one that maybe would start a fight first. He'd be the one running down the street with a traffic cone on his head. But yeah, frustrating, but absolutely love him to bits too.
Yeah, we love, I love Heck to absolute bits, but he's a right knobhead at times. So, but,
in the night when you say goodnight to them, even when they've been idiots all day, and they're nearly always idiots because you either haven't taken them for a proper walk, or you're rushing, or you've taken them somewhere where it's not the best place, or but then when you say goodnight to them, there's always that little bit of like the smell of their ears and that little creach in their heads, and I'm like, I love you. And I always do it when I finish a run as well. I always say thank you, thanks for taking me on that run, because a run with a dog, there's just something about, no offense everybody, but I'd much prefer to run with my dog than anybody else, because talked about that like synchronicity, that like there's no need for chat, but then if you suddenly say something, my dogs are like, what you like, there's no need for noise, but you can, if I say something to them, they're like, yeah, I agree, mum, yeah, totally, let's go left. Let's go up that way. There's something about being out in the wilds with them. They're such good company, even though no words are exchanged. And I never feel scared when I'm with my dogs. Like if I'm out running in the dark or whatever, it's a false sense of security, but I always think like, I don't know why that they protect me. I'm not sure they would, because if the person came up with bonios and was like, oh, you want a good puppy, they'd be like, oh, hi. Or they'd just run away. They'd run back home. Last thing I just want to touch about on the film is that there's quite a lot of footage of you doing the Frog Graham, looking sensational in a wetsuit, may I say. I'm not sure sure about the wetsuit down, sort of like rucksack on at the end of it look that you've got going on at the end. But I like the idea. I was watching you swimming across the lakes thinking, do you know, if I was going to go back to swimming, that would be probably the only thing that would get me back swimming again. We've had a few people on that I think have supported people doing frog Graham, but I don't think we've had anyone that's actually done the frog Graham.
Is it the same as the Bob, though? You need to kind of register your attempt and have witnesses, that kind of stuff?
So you do need to register, but the true spirit of it is that you do it like unsupported. I had people come along with me just for company, but I carried all my own stuff.
Hence the backpack at the end.
The rucksack, yeah. So I just wanted a day out with my mates, really. So but then to ratify it, you have to send off like a GPX trace, which Martin at the Frog Graham Club goes through with a fine-tooth comb and finds out all the,
terrifying,
if you did anything wrong. So yeah, I mean, there's a section in the film where I say I'm going to put it out there that I'm going to have a go at the frog. What I meant by that was I needed to say it out loud to myself that I am gonna have a go at doing something that I don't know if I can do. And so I got together, like all my best mates came with me to help at various different bits, and we went off and did it. So it's 40 miles. I think it's about 15,000 foot climb. You swim across 4 lakes. So if you go in anti-clockwise, which is the usual way, up Skidder, down, swim across Bassenthwaite, do all the Winlatter Fells, all the Coaldale Fells, swim across Crummock, section of the Buttermere Fells, come down off High Style as you would the Tyrian Round, swim across Buttermere, then you get up Robinson and finish off Catbells down, swim across Derwentwater. You have to get out on the 3 islands that you come to and then finish back in town.
How much is the swimming? Like, how much is each leg?
The longest continuous swim is actually across Bassenthwaite, which is just over half a mile, but then Derwentwater's 1.25 miles, but you get out at the 3 different islands, so it breaks it up a little bit. I think in total it works out at about 3 miles of swimming. Any
cramp from doing all that climbing and then starting swimming?
I was getting a tiny little bit going across Derwentwater at the end. By that point, it's like I was really, really swimming fit at the time. I'd had a bit of a knee injury, so I wasn't really that running fit. But swimming, I was like, no, I've got this. Easy. And I just went for it.
And then do you have to carry your wetsuit then with you?
So you have to carry a wetsuit. So the only bit I actually had a little bit of help on, because of the whole biosecurity side of it, of washing your wetsuit after you've been in a lake. Carried my wetsuit, swam across Bassenthwaite, then I swapped wetsuits.
Oh, so you're not taking the water into the next...
Yeah, so then my mum and Rachel actually took that wetsuit back and give it a rinse down, and then I swam across Crummock in a wetsuit, then I wore it for the next section, then I swam across Buttermere because those 2 lakes are connected. I then carried a wetsuit for the next bit, and then I swapped into the previous wetsuit, which had a wash for the Derwentwater leg. You know, it was a little bit logistical figuring that out, but tried my best to keep it in the spirit of it, of doing it as unsupported as I possibly could.
And you did it in about 14 hours, is that right?
Yeah, 14 hours and 2 minutes.
Is there a time like there is Bob Graham, like under 24 hours? Is there the same for the Frog Graham?
No, you can
it's
do...
the spirit of completion is the main aim.
I once was having a run and I came across this lady with a massive rucksack. And I was running over towards Dalehead Tarn from Catbells, and she was going t'other way. She was talking to me, and she said, she was doing the Frog Graham. I was like, oh, yeah? With that huge rucksack. So, yeah. I said, I've done that. I bet you're one of these mad people who've done it in under 24 hours, have you? And I was like, well, yeah, because most people do it under 24 hours. And I said, how long you did it? I'm doing it over a week.
Oh, that's the way to do it.
In the massive rucksack, she had a big inflatable dinghy, which she was putting all her camping stuff on, and she's just
then
gone
pulling it,
and then swimming across and pulling that, and I was like, that is way cooler than what I've done.
She was cooler than you.
Yeah,
she absolutely. She's like, it takes me 10 more hours, but I am pulling a dinghy with my. That's cool. I like that idea. I love that idea.
Bassenthwaite, from my memory, it's not the busiest of lakes. Do you have to have permission to go on the lake, or can you just go on?
No, you just don't want to go down like Cockermouth End, because that's where the sailing club is. So as long as you've got a float, like a dinghy or a float, you'll be all right. There's no boats on Crummock or Buttermere. And then, Derwentwater. I mean, I had So I had someone with us going across Bassenthwaite, and I had a couple of people swimming with us over Dermwater, including my mate Martin, who moaned the whole time because I was going so slow. And then
that's just what you want, isn't it?
He rocked
That's
up,
just
and
what
he didn't have any jackets or any food with him, so he started asking me for my jacket because he was getting cold, and then my food. I give him my sister actually gave him one of her gels, and he went, "Oh God, that's absolutely disgusting! Oh bloody hell, I don't want to eat that again." And we were like, "Oh, cheers, Mark, thank you."
High maintenance.
Yeah, very.
High maintenance crew.
Excellent. I've got to ask one question about the Bob Graham. Why anti-clockwise, Jacob?
That's the way my granddad went, and he did his in 1980. In my clinic at work, I have the shorts that he wore when he did his Bob Graham up on the wall, actually, and he signed and framed them for me. I think as a bit of a laugh, but for me, that's my signed David Beckham shirt, and also because. I mean, I've helped on so many bobs, and I know the route going clockwise so well, but I could never envisage me actually doing it and getting around in 24 hours. And I turned round and did a run the other way around, and something just clicked in my head. And I was like, actually, this makes a lot more sense to me. And I don't really understand why so many people are so scared of going the other way around. And everyone gives you a crap excuse of, well, the last leg's really hard.
Well, Seat Sandal, Fairfield, then Dollywagon, that puts me off.
But if you think legs 2, 3, 4, all the climb is done at the start of the leg. And then after that, they all actually trend downhill. And then you've swapped all the bits which I find hard, you go the other way around on them. So you get, I don't like running the roads. So you get a nice 5-mile warm-up, hardly any climb on that, really. Once you're on Robinson, that's it. Then the second leg, you're starting at 1,500 foot. So there's less before you get to Wasdale. You're getting all the rough ground done early doors. Then, like this leg 4 is my back garden. For me, nothing bad can happen to me in my back garden. So it was tough going up and down there. Oh, yeah, someone had a heart attack on my Bob Graham, actually. Yeah, which is another very long story. But I don't know if you know of Mingma Sherpa he runs for Keswick. If you were ever doing anything that needs any support, Mingma is your guy. But he had a heart attack and fell down Lord's Rake. And as he bounced, that kicked his heart back into gear.
On your Bob Graham?
On my Bob Graham. I rolled him over and there was blood squirting out of his face like a Quentin Tarantino film.
My God.
And very, very long story. He's alive, but we were trying to get in touch with the rescue team. Martin, who I mentioned before about moaning
Gel Martin, no coat, we've got it.
He was the first person I saw, which is the last person you'd ever want to see in an emergency situation. So we sent him to call for the rescue team. Martin grew up in Rosthwaite, and he got lost in between Scorfell and Scorfell Pike. So he just ran home. Me and Matty were left with Mingma. Mingma was like, we've lost a load of time, we need to keep going. So I was like, at the top of Scorfell, I was 20 minutes off my schedule. By the time we got to Scorfell Pike, I'd fallen to like an hour behind my schedule. For some reason, we ended up keeping moving because Mingma got up and was carrying on. We obviously didn't know the extent of what had happened at the time.
Yeah.
And he just went in this dazed and confused, I need to keep running. We finished the leg 20 minutes off my schedule. He got taken in an ambulance to Carla Hospital, spent 3 nights in there whilst they were monitoring from his heart because they realised he'd had a heart attack. So I went to see his wife when I finished, and all she said to me was, I'm so sorry he slowed you down. And I was like, you are joking. But like at the time, that was the bob over. Like we weren't carrying on. We only carried on because Mingma, we couldn't physically stop Mingma from carrying on. And then we got there and he just said to me, don't you dare stop. And I was like, right, well, go on then. And then I saw my nan and granddad were there at Dunmail. They were at Threlkeld then at the end. And he was like, I'm so sorry I didn't see you finish. And I was like, what is wrong with you? But he's a proper Sherpa from Nepal. Proper Nepalese.
Yeah. It's in his blood. It's in his blood. Carry on.
And as a people, they are the best people you could ever want to help you with anything. And they literally would give their lives to help people with stuff.
Is he back running now?
Oh yeah. Done a lot of very long, stupid things, Mingma. He's probably one of the most inspirational people, and there's not many people in the world who I would completely trust with my life, but Mingma is
not Martin. Definitely not Martin.
No, I would. He just wouldn't be that much help. But so that's why I did my Bob anti-clockwise, because my granddad did, I wanted my own adventure. Not not something.
Else's. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I just love it how it's so ingrained in the family. Your granddad. What about your parents though? Did they drag you up and down fells and mountains?
Oh, yeah. Much against my will when I was younger. Yeah.
Great. Okay, right. What's next? So, a little birdie tells me, well, actually, I've listened to your podcast, not little birdie, doing a road marathon and trail race.
I just needed a little bit of a change next year, really.
Yeah.
I'd been thinking about having to go to a road marathon because when I finished my bob, I was sat there on the steps of the Moot Hall, and the first thing my mum said to me was, well, just remember, lovey, I've still done a marathon quicker than you, which was the last one I did was the Kielder marathon.
Oh,
and my
okay.
mum beat me by over an hour because I was throwing up in the bushes, and I set off like a knobhead, did the first half in like an hour and 20, and the second half took me 3 hours. And mum just went tearing past me, so she's clinging onto that. Yeah, in my competitiveness, I need to do a marathon quicker than my 60-year-old mum, which is all the reason. But then I thought, if I can come off the back of that, that should serve me pretty well for going to do something like the Lakeland 50. 50 miles is only 10,000 feet of ascent, which I say only because in the fell race world, routes like Wasdale or Ennerdale are half the distance but the same ascent. And the 50, really, when you think about it, is long runnable sections with a bit of a steep climb, steep descent, then long runnable sections. So to do the 50 well, I think you have to actually be able to run, and you need to be pretty good at running. So the winter months now are all based on actually trying to get good at running, which isn't something I really feel like I am very good at. I'm just good at running downhill. So yeah, if I can do that without burning out, Manchester Marathon, April, I have entered the Coniston Trail Marathon, the Lakeland Trails one, entered the Keswick Mountain Festival 50k, and then Lakeland 50.
Sensational. You're right, don't you? With Lakeland, you've got Fusedale. It's probably technically a summit, but the rest of them, like you mentioned earlier, most of them are passes. I can't believe you got in. It is so hard to get in the Lakeland 50.
Yeah, I mean, I said to me, Rachel, me the half, I was like, I'm going to get in. And she's like, you won't. I was like, I will, watch me. And this is when I didn't really want to do it. And I got in, I was like, oh, bollocks, I've got to do this now. So.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'm down for the 100 again, so fingers crossed we both make it to the start line. And see you in Coniston. If you pass me, I'm not having a good day, so hopefully not until we've finished.
Yeah.
Shall we do the quick five? Okay, well, I think you've kind of answered that question there already, but we'll ask it again. Do you prefer hands on your thighs, face covered in snot, trudging up, let's say, seat sandal, or arms flying everywhere coming off Witless Pike on the teenager route?
Oh, downhill. Downhill every time. Yeah. And I would say Whiteless Pike rather than Witless Pike.
I'll give you that. You're a local. We love a cake, a pasty, and a cuppa. But you've got some local intel, Jacob. Where are you going to send us? Little good cafes in Keswick.
Well, probably what is now known as Elm, which is the cafe upstairs in George Fisher. So it used to be Abraham's Cafe, which is why the Tearing Round was the Abraham's Tearing Round. But now Reese and Em run the cafe there, and we'll go at least twice a week to go and see, up there. Very good coffee, cakes are amazing, food's really good as well. Do you have to, going back to the Crohn disease actually, do you have to modify your diet, or is it medicine that you are on as far as kind of managing the disease? Yeah, I was on medicine for a while, but I've come off all that now. So now I've just, through trial and error, really figured out what I can and can't do. So Mr. Mansfield, my doctor, always said that I was best to not completely eradicate anything from my diet and always have small amounts of stuff, mainly because if I ever have to get tested for stuff again, it's in my system. Because if you go for over 6 months without having any gluten or dairy, and then they can't test for that as easy. Yeah. I have small amounts of everything, but I have pretty much the same breakfast, same lunch every day, and then evening meals I have whatever I want. Yeah, I can get away with it, and I've figured out what works for me.
We had some controversy on the podcast about cheese and pickle sandwiches. Yeah, is it thumbs up or thumbs down for you, the good old cheese and pickle sandwich?
Wouldn't be my first choice, but I wouldn't not eat it.
It's not a good review, is it?
It's not a great review. It's just like a podcast review. Wouldn't be our first choice, but I'll listen to it. What's your first choice of sandwich filling then?
Well, can I toast a sandwich?
Oh, God, you're so fancy up there in the Lake District. All right, you're going to toast it.
But if it's a toasted sandwich, can you beat a cheese and ham toastie?
Oh, cheese and
I
onion.
don't think you can.
No, it's my kids' choice. Like, they'd eat that every single day. Yeah. A packet of crisps and a cheese and ham toastie. When I say that's for tea, they're like, we have won the lottery.
Yeah. My problem is I can't stop. So if I start eating toasties,
they have that
then,
same problem too. I'm like, how many have you had? Because there's literally no bread left now.
Yeah.
I love a toasty.
I do love a toasty. Okay, but would you take a sandwich out on the fell with you?
If I'm running, but
What's your snack of choice? You're a real proper fell runner? Probably don't eat, do you?
Crisps.
You'd be like,
It depends. My nana once gave me a packet of crisps to take for a fell race, and she popped the bag so it'd fit in my bum bag, and all the crisps went everywhere. Well, my mum makes a fantastic Christmas cake. My birthday's in June, so I always get a Christmas cake for my birthday. So I make that last as long as I can.
Lots of booze.
Small bits of it. Yeah, so you're basically on the fells absolutely hammered. But it gets you around. So I'd have that. If I'm taking a sandwich, though, I'd just go peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, can you?
Like lots of jam, so it's not all clarty in your mouth. And if it's squash, I love squash sandwiches for some reason.
Me too. Because it means they've been on a journey.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like, Gary's just busying himself about us talking about sandwiches.
It needs a bit of wetting. I'm not, I do like hummus, but...
Oh, not hummus on a run in a sandwich. No.
It does make a sandwich work. Cucumber works because it sweats a bit with the cheese. That kind of gets it down.
No, you're not coming on our sandwich run. Nope. Nope.
Pets. Is Hector allowed on the furniture?
He's allowed on the sofas, but he doesn't come upstairs.
No, you've got to have some boundaries.
Apart from on a weekend when Rachel's a teacher, and Hector's got, as most people's dogs have got, a ridiculous amount of nicknames, and he turns into Weekend Snack, and he's allowed upstairs, and he goes straight up. I'll be down here making a coffee, and he goes straight upstairs, and he lies on the bed, and he has about an hour's kip on there, and then he comes downstairs.
You're giving him mixed messages, Jacob.
Hey, I'm very, very consistent with my dogs, and I always have been. Rachel May, on the other hand, is not. So, yeah.
Excellent. All right, maybe a bit of kit shout out for 2024. Favourite bit of kit that you've used this year?
Well, I've been using it the last couple of years, and I haven't found anything better. The Ultimate Direction Ultra Belt, or Freedom Belt, it's called. So it's
one of those stretchy ones.
Yeah. Mega stretchy one. Best thing you can have for fell races, them. They have surpassed bum bags. Bum bags have been the greatest bit of technology in the last 5,000 years.
Does ever reach the Lake District of bum bags?
And then these new stretchy ones have come in, and you can just put stuff everywhere. It's class. But I also get really bad chafage as well. And I've got very large quads, and I chafe right in between my quads. So I've actually started to wear the short, like legging shorts when I'm properly running hard. And they've got pockets on the outside, which, yes, you can put stuff, but if it's really cold and you've got your hands in gloves, you can put your hands in those pockets and keep them warm. Which everyone listened like, oh my God, as Jacob Tonkin just said, pockets are the best thing. Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Yeah, no gloves, short shorts. Excellent.
Yeah.
I admired your short shorts on the film, and I thought your quads were sensational. I was like, I would pay a lot of money to my legs look like that when I was running downhill.
Yeah, someone booed me when I rocked up with longer shorts the other week, like the compression ones, and they're like, but we can't see your legs now. And I was like, please don't feed my ego anymore.
Instagram story music time. Yeah, every week, Jacob, we will share this podcast over on Facebook and Instagram. You get to pick the music that we use. What song? What song is it going to be?
Oh, for the Instagram thing. Well, I'd either say Basement Jaxx, Do Your Thing, or, and only because I went to a wedding with one the other week, American Trilogy by Elvis Presley, but the end bit when he's doing the proper Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. Because we went to a wedding, they had an Elvis Presley impersonator, and he was absolutely sublime.
End bit, all caps.
Made my night, yeah. I sing an awful lot, and I was at the front of his Elvis impersonator being like, Elvis, please notice how good at singing I am. Please. I was very drunk. I was very drunk.
Have you got a spare mic?
I think I'd blow everyone's speakers if I started singing now.
Will you be going to see the new Wicked film, Jacob? Is that in your interest?
It is on at Keswick, yeah. It's on the cinema here.
Your film first, then Wicked?
Well, yeah, you could do both. You could do both, probably.
What a day that would be.
It would be a good evening, wouldn't it?
It would be a good evening. Tell us where people can go and see the film. Can you download it?
It's not yet on the internet, no, because it's doing the rounds of various film festivals. It is on at Keswick Alhambra. which I believe it's on twice this week and a few times the next coming weeks. But then we've got into a film festival down in London that we're going to, which I think then does tour around the UK as well.
What's it called? Where can people...
It's just the London Mountain Festival. London Mountain Film Festival, I think it might be.
Mountain Film Festival. When is that?
That's not till March next year, though.
Okay.
Actually.
Oh, crikey.
So, I mean, I did speak to James today about asking, are we thinking of putting it online anywhere? And James just responded, only fans. So I don't know.
It needs to be shared. It needs,
it does need to be shared. Yeah. But I mean, one thing I will just say is that like it was never made for this purpose of going around cinemas or anything. So the cinema asked us, did we want to do it as a fundraiser for anyone? And I said no, because I don't know what charity you would link it to necessarily, if it would be a Crohn's colitis or a Dog's Trust. So the performances and screenings I've had at the cinema here in town, the money has just gone to the cinema, because it wasn't that long ago that they were still fundraising to stay open, because it's a tiny cinema. They've done a lot of renovations to it, so then we've happily done the fundraiser for them, which I think in future there might be more scope for other things and do fundraising around it. I don't know. So James hasn't and doesn't seem to want any money for it, which I'm like, please, mate, like, you've put so much work into this. I would love you to get some sort of gain, financial gain, or it win an award or something like that, just so that I can, feel like I've done something for him. So my job now is to try and get as many people to see it as possible, to spread James's work, really, because we had a night where us Tonkins got together and we sat around the TV at Mum and Dad's and we watched it, and we were all in floods of tears, and that's all I ever wanted. The day after everything happened, I messaged James and just said, have you got a picture of me and George running together? Because I don't have any of those. And he was like, "Oh, just leave it with me." We carried on filming everything. Everything happened as it does in the film. In start of September this year, I got an email and it just said, "It's taken me a few years, but here you go." And I clicked on it, and it was the film. I feel so lucky that I've got this that I can keep for the rest of my life, that I can remember my best mate, and it's gone into my little folder which I've got the video of me finishing my Bob Graham, and at the time of finishing that, both my nana and granddad were alive, and I've got a video of my nana giving me a hug, telling me it's okay to cry and that she's proud of me. And then I turn around to my granddad, my granddad's still alive now, and my granddad's in floods of tears, and he I said to him, "Thank you for making me do that," and he just goes, "I didn't make you do that," and then just said, "Welcome to the club." Aww. And that's like all I needed to hear. So if I ever help anyone at the end now, that's all I have to say to someone is just welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So it's been an absolute whirlwind for me, and hopefully we get it on a platform that people can see it everywhere. I'll do my best on my Instagram and social medias to share wherever it ends up, and likewise, if anyone wants or thinks they've got a venue where we could put it on or put an event on to show it, I know we're planning a few in the new year. Get in touch, because I'll happily come down, and if people want to see it, we can show it.
We might have somewhere you could put it on, Gary.
Yes.
We'll have
a little chat once we stop.
Yeah.
But go and watch it. My goodness me. Take some hankies. Yeah, you've been warned. If ever there's a story, of man's best friend, then I think this is it. Give you Rex, give you Tarky, give you Lindy, give you George, give you Hector just a big cuddle tonight, because you never know. You never know what's around the corner.
Thank you so much for sharing a very personal story, Jacob, both on the podcast and on the film as well. And we look forward to everybody else getting the chance to watch the film, but also following your journey. We can't wait to hear about this road marathon training. We might need to check in with you. Again. How those quads, how they'll shrink. You'll be so disappointed.
I had to buy a pair of road shoes the other week.
Oh my God, it must have made you sick in your mouth. Yeah. They're expensive too.
You are a podcaster though, Jacob, aren't you? Was it on the tongue foot?
On the back foot. Is the real title, yeah. I just changed it for 2 episodes when I took it over.
Check it out. Have a good day. Good luck with everything, and look forward to hopefully our paths will cross with squashy sandwiches sometime in the near future.
Yeah, hopefully so. Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Take care.
every week we get to meet these amazing people, Gary, to have them like walk into our lives for a morning. And well, we kind of invest in these people, don't we, for a week when we're doing our research and chatting about how we're going to talk to them. And we're so lucky and absolutely loved meeting Jacob. And we talk about the film, and Jacob and James were sort of umming and ahhing about how they were going to offer. There was talk of OnlyFans, which makes me laugh so much because to me it's a bit of a dodge. I don't know why it's got dodge connotations. But anyway, we came up with a better idea. So we have got the link to the film, and if you are a Patreon, we are going to pop it over on Patreon for you to watch, because it brings the interview alive, doesn't it? If you can see the film, it will put together the story, Jacob's story, and it's such the cinematography, as we talked about before, and the film as well. Let us know when you watch the film. I offered to watch it with my children. One of them watched them with it, and the other two, when I told them the theme of the story, they said, "Actually, Mum, that sounds a little bit." We get upset about that sort of thing, which I thought was lovely. And I thought, okay, we'll wait for a little bit older. So it has got some adult themes within the film, but some great talking points as well. And wow, you're going to love the cinematography in this film as well. Thank you, Jacob and James, for sharing the link with us as well and sharing your story.
Thanks to Shock for sponsoring our Strava Club and the Tales from the Trail section. We are currently testing the Open Run Pro 2 and the Open Fit Air. And so far, I am loving these Open Fit Air. They are my go-to headphones. Really impressed with the battery life. These are the deets. Battery life of 6 hours. They would have lasted for our Tea and Trails Ultra Recce. I wouldn't use the Open Swim Pro, but they are IP68 rating. So if you maybe run in a climate where there's lots of heavy rain, then they should kind of get you through that. And also they've got 32 gigabytes of storage. So I do run with my phone. Some people don't. So if you want to either not stream music to your headphones, or you just want to run without your phone, then you can pop all of your tunes, all of your Disney classics onto your Open Swim.
How many 32 gigabytes? How many Disney classics is that?
Let it snow.
Let it snow.
So if you're in the market for better headphones, maybe a Christmas present or maybe for someone special in your life, then pop over to ukshocks.com and use the code T10. That'll get you £10 off your purchase. Also, I know people have lots of opinions on Black Friday, but I think, if you are in the market for a product, don't just go and binge and buy stuff you don't want. But if you are in the market for a product, then Black Friday can save you quite a lot of money. And currently, up to 32% off certain products over at ukshocks.com as part of their 2024 Black Friday event. First up in the Strava Club is Alexia Morgan. Request to follow, but nearly 90 miles for the week, 20 runs in total. That looks like my weeks with Rex. But 112 feet of vert for the week too. That is super interesting. I'm really curious, Alexia. What is the breakdown of your week? Next up, Jamie Allen. Brutal looking run on Saturday. And a second double-digit run on Sunday too. That weather. I think the weather on Saturday, up and down the country, whether it was horrible minging rain or snow. And the session 3 times 1.5K. Really good week. 59.1 miles for the week. Longest run of 14.9 and 4,465 feet of vert. Robert Hornshaw, Lady and Way Recce NAV4 event. Weather was absolutely wild. A few of my friends over on Facebook must have been doing that because I saw lots of great but absolutely minging looking pictures. Yoga, weights and some running. I'll take that. 55.3 miles, longest run of 30.8. And in that minging weather, kudos, 5,656 feet of vert. Heavy flex, it's going to take a few weeks for this to get going, but you now decide who gets the heavy flex. Email in if someone you know has heavy flexed, or maybe you think, you know what, I'm flexing. We can't promise to read them all out, but we will do our best. Usual email, hello@tntrails.com, and put heavy flex in the subject section. I think long-term listener, she has been on the podcast. We do bump into each other at every Lakeland 100. Angela Green deserves a shout out. She joined the V50 club, looking sensational too. It looks like Angela had like a birthday week. The celebrations just went on and on and on. But all the best. Hope you had a wonderful time, Angela. And everybody, who got out on Saturday. I'm sure there's lots of events going on up and down the country, but on my timeline, it was a Hard Wolves 80s runner. They didn't get snow on the East Coast, but wow, they got very wet. We did our long run on the Thursday, so yeah, we missed all
No need to gloat. No need to gloat.
All that filthy weather.
Hard reviews. Incoming. Red shorts for the win. Listening to Gary and Eddie's ups and downs each week never fails to entertain and inform in equal measure. You really do feel like you run, hike, puke, walk, and occasionally crawl every mile with them out on the trails. Such unmissable highlights include Gary inadvertently fully exposing himself on Crivgock, and those now infamous red shorts, to name just two. To tune in for 2 hours and listen to all things trail running, which both informs and entertains, is quite simply sensational. Every Friday, maybe Saturday, depends on our weeks. Without fail, I listen to the podcast in my work van driving to Glasgow, and I can honestly say it's the highlight of my week. Keep up the great work, Andy Painting, Selkirk. Is that, Andy, is that actually your surname, Painting, or are you actually a painter? Are you driving your van? If you're a painter and you want some work up north, just let me know.
I'm not going to disappoint, Andy. I've ordered some new red shorts.
What? You actually paid for them? I thought they were something that you found and that you wear.
5 inches.
Oh my life. Are they as tight?
Well, I don't know. See what they're like when they turn up.
Oh my life. You're not wearing them when we're doing our race. You'll scare the small children off. My kids are
on
coming.
The stage and on the race.
No. We'll have to blur stuff out.
I'll be like, look up here, ladies. Not down there.
I'm actually not sure this is a good idea. I don't know how I'm going to censor you when people realise what I have to put up with. Anyway, we love your reviews. It really does help the podcast grow, and we just love reading them. They make us laugh so much, and also gives us that warm, fuzzy feeling. Please pop over to iTunes or Spotify and leave a 5-star review. Phoenix Light are providing the prizes. Thanks, Phoenix Light. This is the head torch that 8 out of 10 of you ladies used on your awesome recce the other week. And yeah, you and a friend could win, trips off the tongue, this name, HM65R-T head torch to help light up those winter trails. And yeah, like I said, it's my 13 Valleys head torch. So many people use this head torch. It's an awesome bit of kit. What you need to do is be part of the Tea and Trails Facebook group. Share the pinned competition post. You might have to check your privacy settings though. Sometimes we can't see everybody who has shared the post. And yeah, it would be such a shame if you have shared the post, you've taken part in the competition, just because of your privacy settings, we can't see who did it. Lastly, yeah, post a picture of something to do with light. You could be lighting up the trails with a head torch. Sunrise, sunset, a Brocken Spectra, anything you want. We're not going to be judgy. Winners will be picked at random on the 16th of December. And kudos and thanks to Phoenix Light for supporting our competition. I'm coming up. Well, I've got a busy week coming up, Gary. Nothing. Keeping myself wrapped up in cotton wool now. Nothing. Trying to do the final. Trying to organise going away for
taper time, isn't it? Taper time now.
Pretty much taper time. I've got one more long run to do. I've got one more session. I've got my weights are now just light. Still quite heavy, but nothing that I don't walk away from just feeling like I've done my weights. I'll take my training down about 15% probably this week, 10%. It's tricky because the race starts on Wednesday. So you get all discombobulated with like...
Oh, I don't like a Wednesday start.
Yeah, it's tricky, that one, isn't it? So I probably will do one more long run this week, and then I probably will do another long run-ish on the Monday with like 10 days to go. Last like little, a 2 or 3 hour with the backpack, everything. And then I'll go into serious taper. Serious taper for a 200 miler is different to even a 100 miler. I really think you pretty much take the whole week off before a few little light jogs, but hardly anything, so that you are absolutely, you probably feel horrendous, but at least you're as fresh as you can be.
I'd be really interested, when people are doing training plans for, say, marathons, 10Ks, half marathons, we've got decades of data to fall back on, and to a certain extent ultra running, what the training will look like in 20 years time.
It's already changed so much in the 15 years I've been coaching, what the training looks like. So Who knows? And of course, there's no right answer, especially with ultra running as well. It's so individual. But you can get the taper very wrong by doing too much. But I don't think in these long runs, you can get the taper wrong by doing less. Like a marathon, the taper has to be much more, you need to like peak at exactly the right point, and you still need to be like working on that speed right up until the last like 3 or 4 days, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas with a 200, you almost like need to get into your shell, and a lot of it as well as mental preparation, because you're about to basically go to war with your mind for 2, 3, 4 days. And so you need to be in a good place mentally. You need to be face that fact. You can't hide from it. So jolly, that's what I'll be doing.
What am I going to be doing? Well, no reaction. I just checked my heart rate variability today, actually. So it's still in the green, no reaction. So I will just repeat that. No plans. I'm so sad. No plans for a lakes trip. So just local miles for me. And I must admit, I love the Dean. I love living on the coast. But to go for a 5-hour run locally, that doesn't get my juices flowing. We will see. But I've got a boozy Saturday. So
What is this?
we're having our kind of, well, Two to Helvelin's probably our end of year get together, but we're having a pre Two to Helvelin get together in one of the local boozers. And it's going to be in the afternoon. So we could either have a pleasant evening and sleep it off, or we could be total carnage. Like when you start drinking at 1 o'clock.
What does Gary, who's had a few sherbets, look like?
So on a Thirsty Thursday, I could have one beer, and the thought of doing anything responsible after that, I'm not quite out of control, but I wouldn't trust myself to do anything. I'm not pushing for anything. I'm not training for 2 to Helvellyn, but it's quite
I think
good.
you're peaking too early. Peaking in December for next July.
I just want to reinforce good habits because it was very easy.
Yeah, those good habits of the boozy Saturday, you're all chat.
Oh, you need those days. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks so much for sticking with us to the bitter end. Please share this episode, pop over to YouTube and subscribe. Yeah, it helps loads. That's how we grow and keep showing up week after week after week. And thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration, Shocks, X Miles, Beta Run and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Remember those new customer discount codes: T10 for Shocks, T15 for Protein Rebel, and T24 for Precision Fuel and Hydration. Thanks to our partners and patrons too. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Let the trail rise up to meet you and the wind always be on your back. Be kind to your future self. Breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection. And good luck to Trish, who's towing a 100-miler. I bet she's listening to this. She's out there. We love you, Coach Trish. Go
And
smash
Russell.
it. Enjoy.
Crushing the main streets of Valencia.
I don't think, are we allowed to mention that? Because he was like a bit shady about Valencia. He didn't want to talk times or anything. Sorry, Russell, we've told the whole D&J podcast. You'll be putting it all over Instagram before we know it. My name is Eddie Sutton.
And my name is Gary Thwaites.
And that was episode 98 of the Tea and Trails podcast.